This is a car that you never see anywhere, a 1970 Mercury Cyclone GT, but this one has a 429 Cobra Jet motor, a 430 rear axle, the drag pack, and it's a Ford test car. This thing was supposed to be crushed. This week's Muscle Car of the Week is super bad for a variety of different reasons. First of all, it's a 1970 Mercury Cyclone GT with the 429 Super Cobra Jet engine and the 4-speed drag pack option. So that all by itself makes it a pretty rare car, one of 73 made, and also a potent performer that's a ton of fun to drive. But the other reason why this particular car is so cool is that it's not supposed to even be here today. This is a factory Ford pilot car, basically a test car, and these were all supposed to be destroyed as soon as they were put together. What's that all about? Well, we're going to tell you. Cars have a life cycle of when they're developed. Originally they start off as an idea, which turns into a concept car, and the concept car is kind of a sketch or a basic design exercise to kind of figure out what the car is supposed to be. If it passes the concept stage, it goes into what's called a mule or an engineering mule. And in the mule stage, they build a running car. It's all hand built, and they test certain things like the feasibility of the suspension and engine and driveline and things like that. If the company still wants to go forward after the mule stage, it goes into what's called a prototype. And a prototype is another kind of hand-built version that's designed to see what it would take to mass produce the car. If they find it still viable as a prototype, they fire up the assembly lines, and then they make the test and pilot cars. And these are cars that kind of evaluate if the assembly line is working properly, to make sure that all the pieces go on the proper way. They work out fitment and they work out little details for the assembly process. And after the pilot cars come the actual production versions. This particular car is a pilot car, which meant it was one of the pre-production versions. But it's interesting because this is kind of like, you know, the pre-production drag race car. They made it with the 429 Super Cobra Jet engine, 375 horsepower. It's got the ram air cleaner with the functional flapper door and the ram air hood. This hood is like a mile long, and it's got this scoop here in the hood, and that's actually functional. If you look in there, you can see it's open. And when you open this thing up, you'll see the Cobra Jet 429 air cleaner lid has a vacuum operated door and a rubber seal that attaches to that, making that a fully functional air intake. It's super cool. This car is obviously unrestored, but it's almost all original. I think the only things that have ever been changed on it are the battery and the tires, you know, maybe some tune-up stuff over the years, but it's got over 40,000 miles on it, and this is how it was. That 429 Cobra Jet motor makes a ton of power, ton of torque. This car also has the 4-speed transmission. It's got the 430-to-1 rear gear, which all kind of comes together to make the Super Cobra Jet, which has the drag pack option. The Cobra Jet by itself was the 429. When you add the drag pack, it becomes the Super Cobra Jet. So I can only imagine that the engineers on the line had a lot of fun with, you know, checking all the boxes to make kind of the super bad version of a Cyclone GT in the pilot phase. And then I can also see why this car was spared. I mean, who would want to crush such an animal? And the Cyclones themselves had a variety of different models in 1970. You could get a regular Cyclone, a regular Cyclone GT, or of course the spoiler. And the spoiler was kind of the rarest of the breed with the stripes and the performance package. But the Cyclone GT that we're looking at has all the performance of a spoiler, it just doesn't have the graphics. This particular car has some other interesting features on it. It's a red on red paint scheme. We have a copy of the original documentation with the car when Ford produced it that shows they could have had a two-tone underneath that side chrome molding, but in this case that was deleted to make it all one color. It's got a red interior, it's got an AM radio inside, but there are other elements of the Super Cobra Jet package that this car has to prove it's legitimate. One interesting one is the oil cooler mounted behind the grille. That is a factory installed oil cooler, which is a Cobra Jet piece. But look where they attach the oil cooler. That is a steel AN fitting, and it's rusting. You know, today all the AN fittings are aluminum. You never see them steel rusting. That thing's been there since day one. But the car survives in great shape. It's got just over 40,000 miles on it. It still runs and drives in great shape. And the solid lifter 11.3 to 1 compression 429 sounds super bad when you turn the key. There's a few other elements that make up a 429 Super Cobra jet. The cylinder block has a 4-bolt main, the special camshaft, it's a solid lifter cam. It's got high flow heads, aluminum valve covers, and a couple of chrome items like the oil fill cap and the dipstick. But the ultimate proof on this car that it's the real deal is the Marty report, which not only shows that this car was produced with all of these items, but it also makes mention that it was a factory Ford test car. These big Mercurys were family cars, you know, they were supposed to be cool, comfortable cruisers, and this one definitely is. The seats fit like a well-worn pair of shoes. It's got a wood rim steering wheel with the rim blow horn function, minimal gauges, there's a tack strapped on the steering column, power disc brakes, power steering, not really too many other options. There's another add-on piece, a speaker control switch under the dash, which is kind of neat, AM radio, but then you've got a Hurst shifted 4-speed and the console to row through the gears, and with that 430 rear axle and drag pack, you're doing a lot of shifting in this car. So if you went to your Lincoln Mercury dealer in 1970, it was interesting who they were marketing to. They were called the man's car at that point, and they had an interesting ad campaign for the Super Cobra jet in which they called it the password to action. And today, you know, we all use passwords all the time, but in 1970, who used a password? You know, a password was something that was spoken and not typed into a computer. So, I don't know, you walk up to your Mercury dealer and say Cyclone, and they hand you a box of action, you know, or they hand you the keys to this car. Now, one of the ads I thought was interesting is that they were selling this car to people that were on one side of age 30 for certain reasons, and they were selling the same car to people that were on the other side of age 30. I don't know why age 30 was the dividing line. But I'll tell you what, in the Brothers collection, there's a lot of neat cars, but this one appeals to people of any age.
429 Super Cobra jet. It's a beautiful car. It's out here in Chesterland, Ohio. And we're going to get a shot of the motor. Looks pretty nice. And what size motor is that?
429 Super Cobra jet.
429 Super Cobra jet. It's the original motor?
Actually, it's the second motor. The other one blew up the drag strip.
One blew up the drag strip. There's the tag on the firewall. It's a beauty. And we'll get a shot here. And if you can put the hood down for me, I'll get the beautiful hood scoops you have. How long have you had the car?
I've had this car for about 12 years now. I sold a Shelby Mustang I had.
Is that right?
With the pocket change, I bought this car with what was left over.
I
mean, these cars are kind of unknown, you know, so they.
Yeah, you don't see them very often, do you?
No, so that also affects the price. You know, you're able to get some.
Tachometer. You can't really see them there. I'll get a shot of the interior too. Oh, it's got a gauge package built in the dash.
They all come with
that is neat. Let me get a shot of that. All kinds of gauges. It's kind of dark. And fuel, clock, and a factory tack, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, look at that. That is neat. What a nice car. Guy I know, Corvair Wild, just picked up a Corvair in Chard, and he did a video. I seen him 3 days ago. He went by and I watched his videos. He kind of inspired me on these.
Oh yeah, that's cool. I don't know much about computers myself.
He collects Corvairs. He lives in New York State. I think it's Birmingham. I'm not sure. But beautiful car. Okay, and we have some decals here. Get another shot of these gauges real quick. Oh, they're facing the other way though, so we had the sun right. That's not bad. Beautiful. Okay, thanks for letting me shoot a video.
Look at this 1970 Mercury Cyclone GT. And this is definitely a sharp looking car. We'll check it out here. You can see right away that these have the hideaway headlamps up front. And nice looking grille as well. I really like the hood on these. You can see it's got the big hood scoop right here in the center. Very impressive. You can see just how glossy that paint is. Very nice. It is riding on the chrome Magnum 500 wheels with some Cyclone Radial GT tires. And right down here you can see it has some 429 badges. That's exactly what's under the hood. We'll take a look at that in just a minute here. You see the glass looks good. It does have body color mirrors. And really nice original interior as well. Let me go ahead and open the door here. We'll take a closer look. As you can see, it's got the original door panels. It does have some nice tall back bucket seats. And I mean, this is just a nice, clean, unrestored car on the inside. Still has the original wheel. Has a 120 mile per hour speedometer, and then a fuel gauge on the left. Still has the original AM/FM stereo, and it is an automatic on the console, as you can see. Has the C6 automatic. Dashboard looks good. I think there's one crack there in the center, but other than that, looks really nice. They have some custom floor mats. Here we'll continue on out back. You can see you have your Cyclone GT badging out back here. Nice big chrome bumper. Of course, it does have dual exhaust, and it has the 9-inch Ford rear, which obviously is a really durable piece. But I mean, it's a nice straight car all the way around. Very impressive. Now you can see the reflection in that paint. You've done a nice job with it. Here, I'll go ahead and pop the hood and we'll take a look at that 429. Alright, as you can see, it's looking really sharp under the hood as well. That is the 429, topped by a 4-barrel carb. You can see they have the original factory air cleaner up top. You have the nice powered by Ford valve covers. And obviously the block and heads, valve covers, everything are painted in the correct Ford blue. And it's just nicely detailed. Very sharp. And you can see that's about as much engine as you're going to shove in one of these. So this thing should move down the road pretty strong. Very nice. Here, we'll go ahead and check out the specs on it. Once again, this is a 1970 Mercury Cyclone GT. 123,000 actual miles. You guys can pause and read all the details here. They said about 5,000 miles ago they repainted it, rebuilt the motor and the tranny. But like I said, other than that, it's a pretty original car. I mean, it has all original interior, it looks like, and you know, all its factory equipment. They just kind of cleaned it up a little bit. Very nice.